What's going on, everybody? CaptainRoBear and crew here for the after show. Woo! 69 delivered in a more than nice way.
I tell you, I feel like I've been waiting to exhale for a month.
Yeah, we haven't even gotten to your wedding yet.
Well, I mean, the whole joke is, 69 be the wedding, but the things that have transpired up until this point and the way we left it 4 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, however long it's been, I have been dreading getting into this episode because there was so much unknown, and Josiah knows how bad he f***ed up.
Yeah, man. Was not expecting a Jinrid return tonight.
Oh, but it was so good.
So good.
That's interesting to hear, because I'm curious as to, and that's one of the things that I'm curious about, and I think we'll get there because I do want to talk about the start of the episode and that kind of dilemma. But I am curious as to what stuff was planned, what stuff wasn't. I'm curious about that.
80% of my planning is walking into the front door of the palace for tonight. So I had some good ideas what I wanted to do with Marcel, and I just let it play out how you guys were going to play it out, and I was going to see there's going to be a hard pull to take Josiah to the palace no matter what. So that's the first point. Okay, how does this go down? Because they're going to try to take him there regardless, and there's a way for things to manifest once it gets there, but then there's this heavy push no, we're gonna go, we're gonna fix this wrong, I'm not gonna run anymore. And we get this the first, which is crazy because it's an episode about second chances, and it's Josiah's 10th second chance. And that's what starts the episode of just, how many times are we gonna go through this that your way doesn't end the way that you think it ends. And it's Josiah's point, no one's really ever given me a chance. That's why I've always been trying to do it my own way. No one's ever backed up my way. And you get to have the great conversation at the beginning, rolling the dice on it, burning, trying to do anything you can.
Final second chances, baby.
Yeah. You end up getting out of nowhere, which with your rolls should have never been locked up by manacles. You get beefed. Shit. You get beefed on your rogue rolls. I
knew it was coming.
And we start this episode out with crazy rolls. I make you guys literally roll for the life of me and radio's favorite stoner characters.
Yep.
I already thanked Adam for that nat 20 on the save
I
for
saved
Malthus.
One and I killed one. I was like, yeah, this is
better than them both to be dead though, and try and bring them both back at the same time.
True. And we got them back.
That was wild. I had a 10% chance on that roll with nothing else to add.
Yep.
Had to roll a 19 or 20.
And you did it. And that's how the dice tells the story sometimes.
I'm still doing it. I still got my healer luck, baby. Still got it.
I said it in the middle, but that was the last, in my head, that was the last persuasion roll, I guess, or conversation piece between Josiah and Powell when you're manacled and he's trying to convince you. And I was like, if Josiah doesn't do it here, Asher was gonna go up and be go, we'll find Marcel, go.
We were
that close to the split.
I was getting ready to have to go and let you guys follow the trail.
Yep. And
one roll
and dice changes.
So largely where I had the scene for Marcel all of a sudden rapidly changes, and I go, okay, he's taking off in this way, we're not going to the palace side. All right, so then I make my first audible and I start building out the scene for, okay, what do I want it to look like inside here? There is the connection, so you get to find out, well taking that trail, you get to go past famous scenery and whatnot. It's a big tie-in. We're also trying to refresh everybody's memory of Baldur's Gate since we haven't been on in so long. So we're going past all these monuments, and this episode we talk a lot about, we did this here and we did that there, because this is the end of the campaign. This is This is that final push, you know? And I'm like, oh my God, I've got to start, like, they're gonna they're putting me to the sword on this one. Like, I want to create some good visuals to go along with the music as well, but I'm like, holy shit, we're going in a whole different direction, and I'm loving it because I'm like, okay, I know what it's gonna look like in here, 100%, because I know Cesius is behind this. And then you slowly get to portrayal and walk through here, and like, what the fuck? It's quiet, it's emptied out. You make your way through. You try to get the rock underneath the fucking gate.
Oh man, I wish I would have got that rock.
Almost.
It was a night of making you guys roll it and then be like, fuck.
Yeah, the moonbeam, like, visually on the map was like really, really cool because it added that like macabre spookiness, and you could see like the critters like crawling and stuff, and I was like, oh, this is so good.
The way that it cratered and looked like a moon, I wish I would have.
I was like, I was like, this is an actual moon. Like, you can see a moon here.
That's the best shit that came out of my mouth, and then I had to try to figure out how to build it of my life. So it turned out fucking great. But I knew what I wanted out of the scene. Jinrid is not slated. I don't have, even though I left my healer back, like, leaving my healer back was kind of like a sign of like, this is about dialogue tonight. This is about, like, and you guys picked up on it. This is about, we're still rolling dice, but these are RP choice decisions that we're making. Like, it's not about breaking out into a full-fledged fucking battle. So like, yeah, that was kind of more my like leaving him back to take care of it. And plus, like, you know, that last battle scared the shit out of him anyway. Like,
and he's got to take care of two people that were just from the brink of death.
Yeah, so, from the brink of death. So, and then I'm seeing this like, oh my God, this is the divine. This is it. This is here. This is where they're going to do it, because the mechanic of Hiram is only one can be on the planet at any given time. And if Hiram made that choice, and you made such a compelling case and rolled just enough to get over with, you know, with Asher not being a man of words, he was a wordsmith on how to live your life on your own terms, and to convince, you know, Hiram to end his fucking fiendish reign. And that, you know, it was the big part of him going through, like, you saying that he could that he could atone, and that was the only way. Like, once he had heard that, like, he'd already spilled blood, and he realized, here I went and I killed two people just to try to be myself again. Am I any better than, you know, than the person who killed me to take my spot? And then of course the ultimate fucking, you know, Cesius always has a way out. It initiates the kill switch in his own moonlight.
Yeah, no, it's difficult because like I enjoy those moments, and it was like, you know, obviously dice, you know, the dice roll a certain way, and I'm not a persuasive character, but what was super great about it is that it literally is like, I've experienced this in a lot of capacity, and I know Cesius is a very convincing, manipulative like being, but like I'm at the core of humanity of who you are, right? And the things I know about you versus the things that I've dealt with in the same capacity of like, you know, I've killed people. I've done a lot of bad things. I've died. Like, what is the purpose of my life? It is predetermined apparently by others, but I choose to make that different direction. And that's the core of Asher. And it's Hiram sitting there having that same dilemma, and I'm like, I'm just trying to talk him off a ledge and just trying, and I'm like, I'm not sure if like you go in there and it's like, this is probably going to be combat, or we have a chance to not, and like it just like, it was just, I don't know, I just felt like I was like, I have to do this. Like I felt like it was like, I need to succeed on this, and I wasn't sure if I was going to, but I was like, I'm going to give it my all.
That's why it was well deserved advantages.
Yeah.
And in the end, you beat Cesius at his own game. He tossed a low roll. He's like a plus 13 persuasion.
Yeah.
And it popped low. It was like, oh my God. This is it. This is fucking fantastic.
And it took the advantage for me to do it because the other role didn't do it. They did not do it, but it was, and I just think it was a really good moment because, you know, the embrace and knowing that he chose death again, but he chose to do it his way. And I think that's what's super compelling is like, hey, I've done all these things, but you know what? You're right. Even if this is my last moment, I can do it how I want to do it.
It was the death of the charlatan, of that entire, of using the stars to take advantage of everyone else. It was the final nail in the coffin of them using the stars to take advantage of people. It was Hiram's redemption, and it was the end of that era. All in one fell swoop. So then whenever it's like, oh my God, the nat 20, holy shit, they're not gonna get Marcel out of the stars. That's when, you know, Mud comes in to press the button. And even though we have a nat 20 on the board, I'm like, okay, let's find a way. Let's do something cool here. And that's when I'm like, you know what? I believe it's time. If he would yeet one of his most prized possessions to try to tear open the sky, well, his buddy's gonna see it, and that's gonna be his North Star to come back. That they need him. And he saw that black void up in the stars and looking down at this new constellation of someone he doesn't know or understands, and sees that as a sign that it doesn't belong there, and brings it back down to Earth. And it's where he sees his friends, and he's sad because his job's not over, but it's his sign that his friends need him now the most.
Yeah.
And why hasn't been able to find that turtle shell constellation in the sky yet?
Not yet.
Gets to come down Tyrael style and carry down Marcel and bring him back. Now the question remains, what does Theseus want with your spiritual leader entombed into the constellation above Baldur's Gate and Voxstern?
That cat's always got a plan of something. Something's going to benefit him.
I have ideas, but you know, we'll see. But I will say, I called it. I was like, Hiram is not here as a friend. I called that out. Like,
you did call Hiram out.
Once I found out, I was like, nope, that's awfully convenient that a guy named, I didn't know if it was the actual Hiram, but I was like, a guy named Hiram just shows up right now when all these forces are doing all these things. I'm like, that's awfully convenient, guys. And no, it's fine. I'm like, okay. Like, and then it was like later on, it was like, oh, like I think Josiah started picking, like, yeah, some stuff's a little fishy there.
Just knowing that he was, this star form and seeing the moonbeams and the starlight, and it's like it was all way too suspicious. Like, hey, you know what? Sorry, dude. Maybe you were right.
But it was going to be difficult because everything checked out. Like, he is a dumb, bumbling fool who's given a second chance. That doesn't know why he's been given a second chance. Literally crawls out of the fucking swamp, reanimated. Ugh, what do I do? And he's left there to be poor by himself. He's not even told yet. He's getting whispers apparently in the ear at this point. He doesn't know what they are, if they're Theseus or what. At that point, it's the stars talking to him.
Yeah.
And it begins the cycle over for him until all of a sudden, no, you need to do more. And the voices in his head get louder and louder and louder. And they convince him, you want to stay on this world, you need to be the taker. Otherwise, you're gonna die the same way. They're gonna kill you and leave you behind. So then he lashed out the moment he had. So when he was having the bad trip, that was the voices in his head. Those were the fiends. That was, which you now know that Theseus has some sort of power that is distinctively fiendish.
there's a connection there. I think with my uncle, very much so. You know, I think there's some sort of something there. There's a lot of forces coming together.
Could just be Baldur's Gate.
True.
He's been around for a long time on Baldur's Gate. What will be very interesting is that there's obviously power plays. There are what Josiah's father wants, what Cesius wants.
Guys.
We haven't even gotten into what Baldur's Gate wants.
Yep.
And then there's what your uncle wants.
Oh,
and it's all coming to a crescendo here at the end.
I have one bold prediction, and I kind of want to give it, but I also don't. So I'm torn because I'm like,
never a better time than the after show for our $25 patrons. What your bold call is?
I think that the Light of Lathander is a red herring, and that it's not Lathander, because too much shady shit is happening with Lathander, and based on even if Asher is not a religious person, he is a studied person, and there's a lot of shit that ain't adding up. And I'm like, I don't think that's the Light of Lathander, dog. I think that's a red herring.
And maybe some people have gotten the Light of Lathander and some people haven't. Maybe it's a mix.
So
classic.
I'm like, there's a lot of funkiness happening.
Especially with Cesius coming forward and saying that he is a acolyte and minister of the Light of Lathander.
Yeah, that cemented it, because I've been thinking it for a while. I'm like, this doesn't seem very Lathandery. It's like a lot of this doesn't seem to add up to me, but like I was like, I think this is, but then that was like, okay, this dude is not like, all right.
But is it just the banner that they put it under for Cesius to get a larger piece of the new underworld, to make sure that he secures his seat,
his place,
in this new world?
100%.
And we know that Josiah's father is running, and is running from a deal. Since day one, when I first started making decisions for King Amon for you, I knew it had to be father like son. That
what a parallel.
That it wasn't just your second chance. He's been running since the day your royal family was cemented. Made a bad deal, has been trying to find the light ever since then. All to keep this charade of this charade of this island alive and Voxturn alive, when it was clearly built on the ashes of an ancient ember dragon. And what links that you would go to maintain not only the royal lifestyle, but the life of your own people. To think that you would just discard culture all of a sudden one day because you can't keep it up, and it's had that burden. So you can see from your father's perspective, just on the outside, grasping at straws, somehow trying to gain favor with another deity that is pure of light and willing to accept, no matter what that does to his culture at this point, to try to bail him out from his sins of the past.
It's like a different take on like a warlock pact, but it's like, you're making it with a deity, right? Like kind of like Pact of the Celestial, I guess. Like it's like, I'll do whatever I can do to get out of this. Like,
yeah, it would be like me, like, hey, you can get things back in your life, but like you have to start living like a Southern Baptist. And you're like, no, I can't do that. Baby, I was born to run.
I did like the I'm glad I finally got to use the Dose of Dreams. I really thought
so good.
I really thought about a lot of ways that I wanted to do that, and since we're here and I've used it, so I don't have any more. So I will add a couple extra flavors specifically for you Patreon members. I've had that for a while. It's super good. One of my darker proclivities. Anyway, one of my darker thoughts for that is that my uncle has constantly been messing with my dreams. And if I ever got a moment or an opportunity I was going to return the favor, and I was going to use that dose of dreams. But instead of ushering forward a protection and a coast, I'm almost like a guide in that. That's how the thing worked that me and RoBear talked about. I'm in control of the dream, and so I have complete control of what happens in said dream. If I'm able to get him to ingest that thing the next time he sleeps, whatever that is there's that thing, and you have it one time. It's a one-time use thing, and it was in my head. I was like, oh, I'm gonna turn the screws to you. Like, it was like, you've done it to me, I'm gonna do it to you. But it just kind of felt like tonight, with how Pal is and the guards, and like, I know he is one of our very few allies. It's a beacon of like, hey, I'm on your side. As much as there's a lot of family shit going on, like, he needs to be at his full strength because his judgment's impaired right now. And I think Asher could easily see that. And so it's like, trust me one night and I will do this. The other thing I want to say about it, just because we're here and it's the after show, and I'll try to keep it pretty quick, but we never fully got to what Asher's portion of that dream is. And so instead of it being one specific scene, Asher would be sitting on a field in the Feywild, and there's just beautiful colors everywhere, large swaths of colors. I mean, there's purple and yellow and white and red and green, and he's sitting there cross-legged with it, and he's just smiling. And as the wind blows, the fields around him, which are just straight flowers, flutter up, and as it does, he looks in on each dream. And so he sits there and he sees Josiah with his mother's arms around, and instead of having his own peaceful dream, he's living in that peace with Josiah as he's watching it. And then the wind blows again and the flowers caress through, and he sees Rook talking with Elune as they're walking down the path towards the cottage. And as you zoom out, you see that it's not necessarily the Feywild that he's sitting in. It is literally one singular large multicolor flower, and he's sitting at the base, and each time the wind blows, a petal drifts across the view. And that is what he's doing, sitting in there, controlling and helping guide all of these dreams as he's sitting at the center, and his peace is that his friends and family are finding peace around him.
Oh, I'm so glad you remembered to let everybody know that. I am so sorry I cut you off at the very end. It didn't let your dream go through.
It's okay. I had enough. I was happy, and we were doing the after show, so I figured I'll just throw that in there so that people can have it, because I kind of put that in my perspective, and I just wanted to share it. So
so good. It was like a full-on anime ending. You guys got to paint those fucking pictures there, and I loved it because it was the thumb in the face of your uncle of like, no, my friends are getting a good night's rest. And I saw you in my own mind's eye as you walked around with these dreams. You could see things that would embody like your uncle in the distance, but him not being able to interact, like, omens of like a black raven, or like, different little things within the dream of him not being able to manifest in it, and him sitting back and having to watch the uninterrupted dreams and the confidence, because he knows what all this will bring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was, and that's the thing that we kind of discussed. And for a second, I was like, I don't know if there's going to be any roles, but like, it was kind of like, this is like a one-time use. You have it, however you choose. It's totally going to be, this narrative piece. And so I was happy that I was able to I don't know, I really enjoyed it. And I will say, I loved the duality of Josiah's dream consistently, and with your mother always being kind of like the sheltering, nurturing one, and having that ending of you just like walking down a street with both. And then I just see the sun setting, and it's just your back, and I saw it, and I was this is so good. I'm like, this is so good.
Oh, it was so good, dude.
Walking.
He's always been his North Star. I mean, the reason he believes firmly as he does in their culture, and the reason he ran, is because he couldn't see this matriarch be overshadowed by what his father was doing. It was destroying him, so he ran.
Oh,
it's always going to be that rock for him, always.
I tell you what, you cannot ask any more from your friends and players at the table to hop back at something that they haven't done in almost a month and go back and just like, yep. Not only are we going to get back with it, we're going to deliver you the best RP episode that you probably got in 2 months out of it.
It was very good.
Love this campaign.
Complete. Yeah, it's
so
very
sad
good.
we're in the end chapters of this campaign because it's so fucking good.
You know, that's part of it. It's the pay dirt.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of those things where you didn't have to roll on.
Yeah, but like I'm excited. Like I'm it's mostly what's been building, and like we're getting glimpses now, like slow glimpses of like things, and it's like pieces are starting to connect, but I'm like I'm ready for the drop of like here's what's happening.
The big drop.
But I know it's gonna be painful. Like I know, like I think, and I guess one other thought, me and Radio talked about this, where we're both like, look, like we don't know if we're making it out of this. Like we don't, like there's a lot of shit hindering on both of our shoulders right now, and I'm excited to see just what happens.
It's as grand of a scheme as it has ever happened at our online table. So it will hopefully live up to those expectations. But I'm excited for the mic drop as well. The final piece to where you know where you stand, and you know where the other characters stand. And it's the line is finally drawn. And right now, the only thing I could really do to give Baldur's Gate its justice is to make it look like a crossword puzzle. There are a vast amount of entities that are all competing to the top. And Cesius alluded it a little bit, that climb the bodies. And that is the Baldurian way.
Yep.
And there are those who resist to walk another path. A lot of wonderful, wonderful allegory and connections to both Baldur's Gate's lore and to our campaign at large. I'm stoked we get to play next week, and we get to live off of this jump step going into the Palisade, which we didn't get to get into it tonight, but I opened up with the scene. It is the actual sea fort in Baldur's Gate. That is where the Voxnernian royal family is set up at. So the original home of, the guard and the Flame Watch is all moved out because Voxstern is in. That is the palace within the palace right now, and that's where you're headed to go meet Pops.
It's gonna be crazy. I envision war. That's kind of what I envision is war. And I'm excited because next week is gonna definitely build towards some combat at some point. But like I know there's gonna be a whole lot of RP happening next week. That's gonna get pretty heavy.
Next week is gonna get fucking insane.
Because that's all you, baby. I believe. So good luck with that.
Just remember, you're coming to my town afterwards. You're coming to Voxstern Diego.
Don't hurt him too bad, RoBear. Don't hurt him too bad.
I expect next week for there to be a level of clarity in the fog that hasn't been in this campaign in a very, 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 very long time. And I will leave it at that.
Oh,
you cheeky smile, you.
I look forward to it and all of its trauma.
It's gonna be great.
Great.
I'll have tissue.
Cool.
I'm excited. I'm going to shoot. Maybe my witch bolt powers from Spelljammer are going to transfer over and I can hit a guiding bolt now. Who knows?
Well, slow down. One step at a time.
It's me standing up. I'm telling you. It's been me standing and DMing.
You got more balance now.
I got more balance. I couldn't pull that shit off. Yeah. Oh, we appreciate you. Thank you guys for supporting us in the $25 tier for how long you have. I'm glad we got to get you a piece of content finally with some juicy bits. Let's be honest, these are whole ribeyes tonight. Feast, eat well. See you tomorrow.